Hey guys, so I am hardening off some of my cold hardy crops that I want to plant out in the garden this week, and I just wanted to give you a look at that and also talk about frost hardiness and early planting and stuff. So as you can see, I've got my onions and all my brassicas out here. Now these are actually basil and they are not at all frost hardy, so I am not letting these trays freeze at night. But I am leaving them out during the day so that they can get used to some colder temperatures, get some sort of natural wind movement, and I intend to be, and also hardening them off against sun. So I've got some of them out here on my back deck, which is just outside my kitchen door, so it's really easy for me to access it. I can watch it during the day and see how much light it's getting and make sure they don't get sunburnt. And here in my basement patio, I've actually set it up so that these onions are going to be in shade most of the day. And so that's a south wall. So when the sun is coming basically directly east in the afternoon, it'll hit these, but otherwise they'll be in the shade. So again, they get used to cold, they get used to wind, and they'll get a little bit of sun, but they won't get so much sun at any one time that they'll get sunburned. And because I put them in a spot where they're shady most of the time, I don't have to run down the stairs and move them every half hour to be safe. So 2 of my artichokes are in a mini fridge, hanging out there for the next week and a half, maybe longer. And the other 2 are going to hang out in here with the onions. My understanding is they can't handle a really hard frost, so I don't want to risk leaving them outside at night just yet. So these guys I'm still bringing in at night and putting in the fridge just so they don't get too warm. And we're just going to see how that works for giving them a winter season. Alright, so I wanted to talk a bit about how frost tolerant certain vegetables are and which ones you can actually plant out before all risk of frost passes. So I'm just going to list off a couple of the things that are very tolerant, and I'll post a link to a chart in the drop-down menu. So very tolerant to frost are beets, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, carrots, onions, garlic, turnips, kale, leeks, peas, potatoes, radishes, green onions, chives, parsley, sorrel, and sage. Now, one of the things you need to consider here is that they can be planted out basically as soon as your ground is malleable. In most of these cases, they can be seeded as soon as the ground is workable. They won't germinate right away necessarily. And I didn't see lettuce on that. I actually think lettuce is is hardier than you'd think. Mine survived some -6s last year for sure. And from seed is even better than transplants. So transplanting these things out, you still need to give them a hardening off period where they slowly get used to the change in temperature and the change in light conditions. And you also want to consider that a lot of these things, you can plant them out. Like I intend to plant out my onions this week and my brassicas, basically all the cabbage family stuff, if I can this week. I don't expect it to really start growing until the weather warms up a bit more, but I kind of need the space in my house already for other things that are starting to fill out. So I'm willing to put them out there and sort of just starting to get planting there. Sorry about the camera shake, I'm just using my phone to quickly get this video out. Yeah, so that's kind of the situation for me. And also a lot of your woody perennial herbs like your oregano, rosemary, mint, thyme, those will also survive some frosts as well, especially if they're just growing out there. They'll wake up when they're ready, and that'll be fine. Things that are sown directly from seed in the colder soil is probably going to generally do better than things that are transplanted out into cold conditions, especially if it's quite used to a warm climate. So that's where hardening off really helps. And in my case with the onions, I'm actually going to be putting them out and covering them right away because they haven't been hardened off to all-day sunlight. And if I throw a frost cover over them, I'm just going to use a fleece, and that will help filter the light for them and help them to adjust more to full sunlight. Will also protect them from some of the really gusty winds we get in the spring. We tend to get heavy wind in spring and in fall, and then in the summer it's only in storms occasionally. But I wanted to protect my baby onions, so I'm probably going to be giving my onions a bit of a haircut and planting them out so that they can withstand the wind a little bit better. Yeah, so that's my plan for this week. As far as planting out, I've been starting to clean up some of the detritus that's just last year's plant material. And just another reminder there, if you have any allergies or anything like that, please use a mask or eye protection if you're very sensitive to dust or fungal reactions and stuff like that, because it can be very problematic in the spring when you're cleaning up old, dead, dried up plant material. A lot of that stuff can sit on there. I know snow mold can be a big issue for me, so just be cautious there. And I'll be posting a video later this week with the Q&A and another video about trimming certain flowers and also my peppers to keep them going until we can actually plant them out. And I'll also be talking about how you can deal with tomatoes that are getting too big or too leggy. So that's all coming this week. We'll see ya.